The Alto Knights is the Robert De Niro mega blockbuster gangster movie.
You make sure he's dead. Bang, 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 bang.
Where he shows the world he is the baddest mob boss of all time.
How do you know what he's gonna do?
We will dive into a movie review of Alto Knights, where sometimes your best friend can be your worst enemy.
You're either in or you're out.
Trouble so hard.
Directed by Barry Levinson, the cast of the movies are as follows. Robert De Niro plays two characters, which is Frank Costello and Vito Genovese, and Deborah Messing as Bobby Costello. The movie starts off in the late 50s in New York, where Frank is minding his own business, walking to the elevator. All of a sudden, this clown tried to pop Frank and nearly killed him.
You're either in or you're out.
This clown messed up so badly that Vito said, "You are the dumbest person in the world. How can he miss from point blank range and he's still alive? All you have to do is shoot him, and if he's still alive, finish him. And if anyone comes from the elevator, pop them too and walk off like a boss. You had only one job and you couldn't do that right." This clown trying to explain that if you shoot him and he fall down, then he's dead. Vito tells him if that was the case, then why he's still alive, you idiot.
I don't want to make a lot of noise.
Noise, it's a gun.
The police officer wants to do an investigation on this and try to get information from Frank at the hospital, but Frank don't know who was the killer.
See who shot you.
His wife Bobby wants him to leave New York because she knows they can come back to finish him off anytime.
Just you and me. We are our own family.
However, Frank wants to stay home and brush it off like it's nothing, like it's a normal day, because everybody wants to take turns shooting at Frank. He even have his best friend, and his best friend wants to avenge him because somebody took a shot at him.
Man took a shot at his own boss.
I agree with him, because anyone wants to take a shot at me or pop me, I will be coming from them too. As the narrator, Frank's rewind back in time and tell how it all started. Frank and Vito were best friends since school. They would do everything together, and Vito even had his own business and want Frank to run the business when Vito goes overseas. Frank ran the business so smoothly that he had no issues. When Vito came back from gone so long, he and Frank had a discussion about wanting to do things like they used to. Frank's tell Vito that you cannot do that when we used to because you could get everyone in serious trouble.
You're going down a very dangerous road.
However, Vito had other ideas and was so impatient that he organized his own mob and started to get desperate and wants to take over New York. All of a sudden, Vito made his biggest mistake, flirting and married this woman because she tried to screw him over,
Fly off the handle.
in the courtroom and embarrassing him. She basically opened Pandora's box by spilling all the beans about Vito's business and even brought his best friend Frank in the discussion, which Frank has nothing to do with anything.
She's a cold, stuck-up.
She also called Bobby like 10 times a day, harassing her about what Vito be doing in their relationship. Frank tells Bobby not to get involved because it's not his affair, which is the beginning of Frank's mistake. Vito was so embarrassed that he beat this guy like a piñata and proceeded to gun this guy down like Denzel Washington was gunned down in Training Day. It is understandable because Vito's wife has won the divorce court and won her club. All of a sudden, the press started to ask questions about the mob bosses of Frank and Vito. So when it's time to go to court to ask questions about illegal activities, every person pleaded fifth.
I plead the fifth.
And one person went to say, "I am not in liberty to incriminate myself" 150 times.
You know, there's something called plausible deniability.
That drove the court so mad that they was not getting any answers. But then, the dumbest thing happened. Frank volunteers to go to the court and start answering questions while the city of New York watches.
Dumbass.
Frank was doing so good until the court asked him some serious questions that Frank began to crack. Everyone, including Vito, was telling him to plead the fifth, you idiot. Vito makes a point that you put yourself in that position trying to be diplomatic. Frank was so diplomatic that he storms off in the courtroom like a boss. This made Vito so mad that he met Frank at a local spot and had a heated discussion. Both men make valid points. Vito argues that you are too diplomatic. When we need you, you sat there and did nothing except look high and mighty. You forgot I gave you the club to run if it wasn't for me.
Let's remember something. I put you where you are today. It's because of me.
Then your dumbass went up to the court, volunteered to put yourself in bad position when you should have pleaded fifth. Now you're too scared to do anything.
You want to be half in, half out, half a racketeer? You can't have it both ways.
Frank makes his point by saying this. You came from overseas years later try to do things your way. You kill people because they look at you wrong. Run illegal business and too impatient to run business the right way.
Not where I am. I give to charities, I pay my taxes.
In other words, you care nothing for yourself. The biggest plot twist of all this is Vito wanted his friend Frank dead and take back his business. It then proved that because the killer was in court and he got off with innocent, which he got away from almost killing Frank. Frank knows this and he decides to do the admirable thing. Tell his best friend to move to another country to save him.
Man took a shot at his own boss.
Frank does not want this guy to be involved, but Vito somehow finds out about it and thinks that Frank is up to something.
He's up to something.
Instead of Frank's best friend moving out the country, he decides to get a shave and got gunned down like Denzel Washington got gunned down in Training Day again.
Make sure he's dead. Bang, 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 bang.
Frank was not happy about it and decided to take matters in his own hands.
What happens now?
Frank had Bobby move to her mom's place far away and start to plan to get revenge for his friend's death.
I need to find a way to take it all down.
Frank decided to organize a meeting in the middle of nowhere with all the big boys. Frank wants to pass the business to Vito, but Vito states Frank is up to something.
How do you know what he's gonna do?
He's absolutely right, but he could not figure it out in time. All of them go to the middle of nowhere, but Frank decided to take his sweet time because he planned it, and it worked out because all the big boys were pulled over by police, and some were even arrested and taken to prison. Months later, Vito was arrested and followed by Frank for tax evasion. Vito and Frank met in prison, talk about old times, which resulted in Frank being freed from prison and joined his wife in a peaceful place. As a result, Vito died of cancer and Frank later passed away also with cancer, and both men left a legacy behind of two of the most memorable mob bosses of all time. This movie is by far one of the best movies this year. You have Frank, who is a diplomatic boss who wants to do business the normal way. He does not want to get involved in any affairs and just wants to live a normal life.
What happens now?
I'm gonna retire.
He does some shady stuff, but is not open in the public where everybody know about it. When he got shot, he still want no part of revenge and want to move on. His wife wanted him to move to another place. The situation forced him to do drastic things when his best friend was murdered, and it set off a chain of events. In the end, he got exactly what he wanted and he can rest in peace. Vito, on the other hand, is a hardcore, no-nonsense person. Vito wants to take over the business and do it on his terms. If you cross him, he will show you no mercy. If you look at him wrong, he will beat a person to death like a piñata. If you try to embarrass him, he will send someone to pop you.
Make sure he's dead. Bang, 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 bang.
If you double cross him, he will gun them down. He was doing way too much and was too stubborn to change, and it cost him in the end. The storyline was based on two friends went on a completely different path and showed what they would do in certain situations in a unique way. Robert De Niro's performance was stellar and reminded me of a couple of his movies like Casino and Heat. The acting was amazing, and seeing this was based on a true story, it was riveting and it changed the course of organized crime history forever. Very intense, rating and performance of a lifetime by De Niro, I've given this movie 9 stars. If you want to see more upcoming movie reviews, press the like, share, and subscribe button, and we'll see you in the next movie review.
You're either in or you're out.
I am out.
You make sure he's dead. Bang, 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 bang.